now then. And so what were you hoping to get out of this lesson? What positions do you play? All that good stuff. Anything that I need to know before we start the lesson?
Obviously, like you can see my like right now. Okay, I smurfed again, right? So I'm playing with like divines and ancient fives and ancient. I think I'm gonna calibrate around like ancient 3 or 4 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what's gonna happen. I mean, I haven't started with the calibration, but if you can see my games, it's pretty much ancients and divines, you know. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's good then.
Anyway, but okay, first of all, is carry position. That's what I want to learn the most.
Yeah.
How to carry my retards.
Okay, I got you. One of the things with that mentality is you don't want to pick a carry that's reliant on your team, like Spectre.
Is that really reliant on the team? Because I feel like if with Spectre, if you get the right farm, you can 1v9 basically.
It's extremely dependent on your, unless you're playing in like a very low skill game. Like in my bracket, if you pick a Spectre and you don't have good supports, you just lost the game because the enemy team is gonna shit on you while your supports aren't gonna do anything. And then if you're shut down,
this is still 4K. 4K is not that. It's not that. I mean, 4K is not that crazy either. You know.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you start with that type of, if you start with it works at this point, you're gonna run into later on it stops working, and that's what causes plateaus in a lot of people. They're getting away with one thing because it works at 4K, but it doesn't work at 4.5K. So, like, Spectre can't solo win a game without good supports the higher you go, because she's so fragile in lane, and she can't go jungle, and she doesn't have, she's very weak for the first 10-15 minutes, and then if the enemy team does really well in the first 10-15 minutes, then they can just end the game before you get
before you get your farm.
Yeah, and then it's just kind of like you could have been the best player in the world, but you didn't have the opportunity to use the strengths of your hero, and you'd be almost like better off playing like carry Crystal Maiden or some shit, because at least then you could like kill people in the first 10 or 15 minutes. So looking at heroes like that, trying to avoid them is pretty good. Like Drow Ranger's another one that's.
What you think about Sven? Because I feel like I have really good. Like you can solo carry games with Sven actually.
Yeah, Sven's pretty decent. I don't know if I'd say he's about like in the middle or a little bit above average if we're talking about like this type of carrying where you're trying to carry independent of your supports. Because you can build Sven around being able to leave the lane and go jungle if the lane goes horrible. And you can also farm extremely fast in the jungle. And Sven's really strong with just 2 small items. Whereas like Spectre,
Mask of Madness or
like Blink, Mask of Madness, Echo Saber, Armlet, any combination of those. With 2 of those items, you're really strong, and then you get a BKB right after that, and you're huge.
Then you're unstoppable, basically.
Yeah. Whereas if you're like a Medusa with the same amount of farm, it's like, okay, you have your Hurricane Pike, and you have like half of Scotty or Manta or some shit, and it's like you still can't do anything. Or a PL where you have your Diffusal Blade and you have your Yasha, but you still only have like 1200 health at like 20-30 minutes in the game. So Sven's pretty good for that. He can jungle. He's a decent laner. He just the thing with him that I'm kind of meh about is that he doesn't have an early item like in the first 5 to 8 minutes that he can get that will make him sustain the lane. Like an AM can
like
get
a ringer health, or like Lycan, like a ringer health or something like
exactly.
That. Right?
So when you start taking a lot of harass in a lane like that, you just kind of like have to take it. Where it's again the AM or the Lycan, they can just start to regen through it.
Yeah, this countless game. Like Sven, I already almost expect to lose the lane. Like in every game, I'm expecting to lose the lane. So, and but with Sven is like you can resort to the jungle,
Yeah,
you know.
that's one of the
And
good things.
but with Spectre you can't.
Yeah, unless you want to do some or I think Battle Fury's been becoming very popular lately on like every
On
carry.
on every yeah, because I saw
Yeah.
RTZ do it. I'm like, yeah, it's very good because you can catch up on the farm like
Yeah.
crazy.
So it's kind of like I'm not too sure on that because I don't play carry, and I've been out for the past like few weeks. I haven't been playing too much, so I'm not too sure about that. So I don't really want to comment on that. So I'm just gonna like um, teach as if that wasn't a thing, and then like maybe if that becomes super popular in the next few weeks and it like stays, um, like that's super punishable. Spectre that gets a Battle Fury, um, if it's not the right game, like you're behind and you go for that, and that makes it so you when you have a Battle Fury, you have a 4,000 gold item that doesn't help you fight at all on a hero that can't fight at all without items. So kind of like um, if they
Yeah,
go
right.
for the
You need like two items on top of the Battle Fury with Spectre, like.
yeah, it probably helps you get to the second item faster, but you don't get to the first item as soon. So they can easily end the game before you get it. So I'm not too sure on that. I haven't formed an opinion on that, so I'm just gonna like wait before I comment on that. I don't want to give you like bad advice and then you like take it to heart.
Yeah, sure. No, but I mean, of course, this is a game of, there's a million ways to do things in this
Yeah.
game, you know?
It's I like to say that Dota is kind of like on a spectrum where there's never anything that's an always, and it's always just kind of like if they have a Medusa and a Spectre on the enemy team, it moves your like if we have a spectrum of ending the game early or ending the game late, where you move it one way or the other, and that dictates how you react in every situation. It's not that you see a Medusa and a Spectre on the enemy team and you have to end it early. It's just it moves it to that side. Whereas a lot of people just take it to heart. Oh, they have a Spectre, they have a Medusa, we have to end it right now. But you guys might have like a ton of counters for the Medusa, and you have better late game anyways. So if you just take it that this hero means this action that I have to take, then you might force something that you shouldn't have to force or anything like that. So it just everything that you hear or any advice that you see or any things like that, you should take it as it's going to move it on the spectrum, but it's not going to be set in stone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have counters to their late game or counters to the early game or whatever, it changes. Like the game's very easy to change. Like if you have a Nyx, an OD, a PL, an AM, all this shit that deals with the Medusa, and then you have better late game anyways because you have more cores, then it's just kind of like you don't need to rush the late game. But yeah, so is there a replay that you think would be good to go over? I'm looking at either the Terrorblade or the Morphling right now.
Oh yeah, no, that's low priority games.
Oh, nice.
So those ones, we don't. Yeah.
We'll just pretend those didn't happen. I could go over
uh,
one of the Spectre ones. I like games that you lose because it's not that you.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna ask you. Is the last one that I played because I feel like I had the opportunity to get the farm, but I don't know if I could win that game because, in my opinion, I really want to win that game, but I don't know if I can win that game. Can you give it a look and see if I can actually win that game?
Yeah. The first thing that I want to point out is I don't like the extra branch.
What?
You got three branches.
The 3 branches. Yeah.
Let me get into it before I comment too much more. And the mindset that I've recently adopted, and it's a lot better the lower you are, is think of like your favorite pro player that plays your position, like RTZ or whatever, and then if you're
But it is
asking
fun.
if the
Yeah.
game is winnable or not, instead ask if Arteezy was playing this game, would he have won it? And like 95% of the time, he could have won it. But sometimes like you just have your whole team running down mid, and that's like a good little um, mindset to have to figure out if the game was winnable or not. Um, yeah,
I mean, to be honest, in this game, it was like I felt like okay, the lane was not that hard actually. I had a dual lane against me, you know, like
yeah,
Pangolier and Pudge, you know. I still got a decent farm and I had a decent radiance timing. Uh, and then I don't know, all the fights were like I try to aim because of course we had the meepo, you know, so I try to aim to always catch the shaker before he jumped in and echo slammed, you know.
yeah,
But then I felt like with Pugna and Bane and Shaman, they're so squishy heroes that they have to stay back, you know.
yeah.
And the Meepo got blown up even before I could even kill anybody.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can see that when we get to there. What I want to point out here is you almost always want to get a stout shield instead of a quelling blade because you can get a quelling blade at the side shop, but you can't get a stout shield over there. And then this extra branch is just 50 gold that you're not going to be doing anything with. So what I would have liked to have seen you do is get the stout shield instead, not get this, and then you'd be at 65 gold instead of 15, so you could more quickly get your quelling blade. And then another thing is
so just South Tango and Stout Shield.
Yeah, it would have been decent. And then you shouldn't have your TP scroll in your backpack because it doubles the cooldown. And you're not really going to be using your third branch right now for anything. And you're not going to be using your quelling blade at all for anything until the creep wave meets. So you're kind of like, let's say you go to the rune and you die here, and you die when your creeps are like right here, and their creeps are right here. You can't TP out to the lane because you've had your TP in your backpack instead of in your inventory.
Oh yeah, right. Actually, I did almost die at the rune, actually. But I was so pissed off already, I was already tilting, so I was like, fuck this, I was still taking the rune.
I got you. Nice.
Yeah, so I'm trying there to, you know, yeah.
See, now you have to fly out your stout shield, or
Yeah, exactly.
whereas like this guy, if he had a different build, like he might need a salve or something, and he just can't get it because
I know he would be mad at me.
yeah, and then he might lose his lane because you're doing this instead of and also if you plan on using the courier like this, if you also didn't have a branch while still going this build, you could have waited a few seconds and brought out a mango, and then you'd have the ability to finish your wand at the side shop. So a lot of little mistakes that like actually will add up. Yeah.
But I feel in this game, what lost me the game was the itemization.
Well, the thing that with coaching, I like to first pay attention to the early game, because the example that I like to point to is like if a new student comes to me and he's like, all right, I have this game, the Huskar went 15-0, how do I come back from that? And I'm like, no, we're gonna fucking stop this guy from going 15-0 because he shouldn't be 15-0. Like I'd rather teach you to not let them snowball than let them snowball and then you come back from it, because then yeah, you can come back from a game that shouldn't be bad, but then I still have to teach you the early game, so it's always better to start with the early game. And then, okay, that's fine. I thought you didn't buy your mango.
The mango, yeah, I think I buy one because for the region, you know.
Yeah, it's fine.
and also to survive the lane.
Yeah. The wand is, I really like wand for the regen, because if you look
Oh
at,
yeah, it's amazing. I buy one like every game, like in every hero, you know.
well,
It's a must.
that's kind of overbuying it then. Like it's good, but it's not an every game pickup.
Okay.
The way that I like to look at it is if you look at the gold and the stats of Ring of Regen, and then the gold and the stats of Iron Branch, and then the gold and the stats of Wand, you're basically condensing these three items into one slot, and then also getting a free stick on top of it. So it's a really good pickup, but um, like the best example is AM. AM doesn't really want to pick it up at all because
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, of course. Not on the AM.
yeah. I know you don't. Yeah, nobody
Like
buys it on
it's
him,
a
but
fighting build. It's more like if you're getting a lot of harass and you're fighting a lot.
yeah,
I would say like that.
like it's a hero that I'm gonna like make a back to the Spectrum thing, where PL is on the spectrum of probably one of the, I'd say PL or Medusa are one of the best wand heroes, and then AM is one of the worst ones. Medusa, for obvious reasons, when she uses a wand charge, it's like almost 50 effective health with her mana shield, which is ridiculous. But the reason I really like it on PL is because he has high natural health regen, but he doesn't have high enough that he can jungle without more, and he doesn't build anything that gives him more lifesteal or health regen, typically. So Wand, the 1.5 health regen from Wand, can be enough to let you jungle and sustain. And that goes to the theory of the damage you take versus your health regen. If you have, let's say they're harassing you for 300 damage per minute, and you have 4 health regen, you're going to be taking 60 damage per minute. Whereas if you pick up a wand, and let's say that the health doesn't scale, just to make it easy, if you pick up a wand there, you'll go from taking 60 damage a minute to healing 30 damage a minute. And that's very important. Whereas, like, if you have 0 health regen and they're doing 600 damage per or 300 damage per minute, you can get the wand, but you're still taking way too fucking much damage per minute to sustain it. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So when you're on a hero that's a little bit more health regen does a lot, then wand is a really good pickup.
Right. Yeah.
And Spectre's it's also another thing to consider is the slot that it takes up. There's heroes that like to pick up a lot of small items, and it's not as good on them. Whereas Spectre doesn't really like small items too much. Like he wants to get his boots, stout shield. Like everyone likes stout shield and quelling blade as a carry, but like he just wants his boots and then some really small items, and then go for like Manta or Radiance, and those items take up only 1 slot at a time. Manta takes up 2 when you have your Yasha and your ultimate orb, but usually you just wait for the recipe anyways. So this guy doesn't have any slot problems. Whereas somebody that's going for like an Orchid or something like that, or I don't know, some other items that take up a lot of slots, when you have a wand, you usually have to like get rid of your stout shield sooner, which makes wand worse. It's good that you're going for the Ring of Health first instead of the boots.
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's
The
I saw it on actually I was listening to was it Dota D2 Bowie, you know.
yeah.
And he was saying like if you're losing the lane anyway or something like that, like might as well go for region and try to survive the lane, you know.
A better way to think of it is that's like the starting perspective of it, but a deeper level would be, are your boots gonna stop you from taking the damage of this lane?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, yeah.
It's not gonna do anything. So the Ring of Health would be better, but let's say they have like an axe or something instead, and you can just like run away from him with boots. Then the boots might be better. A situation like that, boots.
Yeah.
Even if you're losing the lane, the boots might be better because if you can just run away and not take damage, that's better than having more regen for the damage you take. And it's kind of like this lane, most of the damage you're going to take is this guy's going to do his swashbuckle and hit you, and you can't really like run out of that in time. Or you're going to get hooked here, and then you're going to throw your dagger over the trees. And boots might save you like 20 damage of rot or something with that, but Ring of Health will just heal that back up in 3 seconds or 4 seconds.
What do you think? Looking at judging by the lineup, what kind of build would you go for? Because it's a relatively free farming lane. You know, okay, yeah, it's a relatively free farming lane.
So what I look at is they have some strong counters to your Meepo with these 3 guys.
Yeah, the Pangolier and Invoker and Shaker.
Yeah, and the Pudge is also pretty good in some situations because there's a bunch of hook targets.
Potential.
Yeah. Well, it's more of he can just throw a hook and 90% time it's gonna hit, and if Pudge isn't alone, then he can just set up for the rest of his team. Like Pudge can hook, dismember, Sunstrike, and pretty decently solo kill the Meepo. Unless the Meepo is doing great or the Pudge is doing horrible. So with that in mind, the Meepo might not have the biggest impact this game. And then another consideration is they have pretty decent wave clear. So high ground's going to be hard to get. So with that in mind, I'm looking to make the game go later. This might actually be a good Battle Fury game. Because they also, they kind of can push early, but you do have decent wave clear yourself with these 3, and then this guy split pushing. So I think Battle Fury would actually be pretty good.
Better than the Radiance if you can get an early Radiance?
Yeah, it's kind of like...
Because what I like with the Radiance is like... First of all, when you pop the ulti, it does so much damage to the whole team, you know?
Yeah. I think the thing is, having an early Radiance isn't gonna massively impact this specific game. Like, your ult is gonna stop this guy's blink, which is huge. And then it gives you the mobility, but, like, your Radiance isn't gonna like melt down any of their supports or anything like that, because they're all pretty.
They're not squishy, yeah.
Yeah, they're not Shadow Shaman, they're not Pugna, they're not Bane, and based off of your lineup, like maybe if it was you had a different lineup, like the Meepo's gonna have a hard time this game, just because of.
Oh, he did because he was tanking everything, but the thing is like. Yeah, he melted every time, you know, because who's gonna tank the whole team? He's not gonna be the Pugna or the Bane, right?
Yeah. So that's...
It was the people. Yeah.
With that in mind, you kind of are the tank. And going back to what we said earlier, Battle Fury helps you get your second item, or when you get the Battle Fury, it'll be your third item. It helps you get that sooner. So you could have gone like Battle Fury... I think Radiance actually isn't that great this game.
Yeah, yeah, because I was thinking about Pangolier ulti because it doesn't even affect him at all, you know?
Yeah, and then this guy has magic resistance and doesn't care about the mist. This guy doesn't care about the mist. This guy doesn't care about the mist. This guy kinda does, but he can just ult or spin. They can heal up on your with the ward, which will counteract a lot of the Radiance damage. Yeah, it's just it doesn't do too much this game, and you could have gone something like Battle Fury like Heart, or that would kind of make you I think Diffusal Manta Heart would be really good this game, and your Battle Fury would get you to the heart a lot quicker than if you just went straight that build. Because that gives you a ton of damage, and both of these guys are pretty, like, mana is starved-ish, and so is the Juggernaut. So the Diffusal Blade will let you, and I don't know too much, Pangolier might be some, yeah, he is kind of shit in game. So your Diffusal Blade would mean a lot of them not being able to cast their spells. And it's a bunch of damage on your illusions, and it's even better with Manta Style, and it locks them down for you to keep on them. And then the heart is kind of like you have to go it because this guy's countered so much that he can't tank up. And these guys are just, they have like no, like the Bane's kind of tanky. Especially with Brain Sap and all that, but you don't really want your Bane tanking, especially because he wants to be getting a good Fiend's Grip. So I would guess the build this game would be the Battle Fury, Diffusal and then Manta, or Manta and then Diffusal, and then Heart.
Yeah.
Because that would, does that make sense to you? Why that would be better than Radiance? Do you want me to go?
The Shaker don't die to the Radiance. The Pangolier definitely don't die to the Radiance, and the Pudge definitely don't die to the Radiance, and not the Juggernaut either.
Yeah, there's
so
the damage is meh, and then you also have a lot of magic damage anyways. So they're very likely to get a pipe on either the Pudge or probably the Pudge. If the Pudge is good, he's going to get a pipe this game. Because this guy is...
Even I felt like during the game, like the Radiance was so underwhelming. Like I was like, I'm not dealing any fucking damage. Like, why the fuck did I buy this item? You know?
Yeah. Like it helps you farm, but so does Battle Fury, and Battle Fury is cheaper, and it helps your healing problems. And the Vanguard doesn't really do too much. Because
the Vanguard, because I already had the Ring of Health and the Stout Shield, so I was like,
yeah.
I might as well Vanguard and maybe build like, well, what I ended up building was the Abyssal, because I was like, I want to be able to lock down the supports like Shaker or whatever, you know?
Yeah. But you could have, unless they have Force Staffs, you can lock them down just as well with a Diffusal Blade. For a lot less, and it gives you more damage. And like the Heart, or the Ring of Health is doing a lot for you in lane. And instead of going the Vanguard, you could use that 1100 gold and go for the Battle Fury, and then that kind of makes Battle Fury 1100 cheaper. You want this anyways, so for your Battle Fury, you're paying for, it's only like 2,200 gold to finish your Battle Fury. Or it's actually less than that. It's around like 1,900 gold to finish your Battle Fury instead of going Vanguard. Whereas your Radiance is 5,100 gold, and it doesn't do as much. Does that make sense? How I'm thinking about it?
Yeah, no. It's, I mean, to be honest, in this patch, I really like the Battle Fury. Like on, I mean, because first of all, it's so cheap. You can get it at 12 minutes, 12 minutes, if you have a free farm lane. And the worst case scenario, you have 15, 16 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
Which is still good, you know.
Whereas with Radiance on Spectre, it's like you get it in a bad game at 25 minutes, and you don't have this thing the entire time.
You don't have HP. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually kind of, I would have really liked the Battle Fury here.
Because I feel like this game, because we were winning at one point. Because we survived whatever this early game there. We survived it, whatever, and the Meepo really got big in the mid game. And then suddenly we just...
Yeah, it sounds like you threw a team fight somewhere when Meepo was big and then he died forever.
Yeah, it was like that. And I felt like I didn't contribute what I was supposed to contribute to the team. You know.
Yeah, I got you. That's kind of like you just went a meh build, I think. One thing that I want to point out is you TP'd here. This guy was running a clarity. You should have thrown your dagger at him because you still had fountain regen from the tower or the well. So you would have got most of it back, and then this guy wouldn't be able to keep farming as freely as he wants to.
Yeah, I don't think I was watching you. That's the problem.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm surprised that I haven't pointed out yet is you need to be setting up your quick buy. During the first minute when you're running out here, do you know that you can set up a bunch of things in this? It's not just one single item. Yeah, you can have up to 8 components, and I like to lay out like all of the items that I need for the laning phase, because you had like 800 gold at one point, and you just you could have like ran to the side shop and got your boots, which you'd be a lot more likely to do if you like had it sitting here the whole time. And there's
I was too focused to CS actually.
Yeah, though it's just kind of like it's so much easier when you just see it down here. But that has 3 main benefits. The first being that if you die, you can buy out items. Like one sec, let me see how much you lost here. You go from you're gonna lose 120 gold here. But if you had your quick buy, you could have bought out some stuff and then reduced. How it works is you have the reliable gold, the unreliable gold, and then the death cost. And the death cost goes through your unreliable gold, which you didn't have any reliable gold, and I think that's from like towers and kills and like Midas and shit like that. Whereas unreliable is from like neutral creeps and all of that. But like you could have bought out what could you have got here? You could have got your boots and your belt of strength. Yeah, and then you would have had 100 more gold. And if that happens 2 or 3 times in a game, that can snowball to being like thousands of gold. Because like let's say you take a fight after this death, and if you had the extra 120 health from the belt of strength, you would have killed the guy instead of dying. And right there's 500 gold swing, just because you didn't buy out your belt of strength here. And then if it happens again and again, it can quickly mount up to like 1,000 to 3,000 gold. And then the other thing is, when you're in lane, it's just so easy to come over here and buy your stuff and then not miss last hits. And it keeps you more conscious of the items that you want. And then the main thing that I think it's the most important, it's the most important for improving at Dota, is that it makes you think about, like in the first minute before the rune spawns, minute and a half, if you set up your quick buy, you get into the habit of thinking about what the lane's going to look like and what you need to do to get the most out of the lane. So you make predictions and then act accordingly, and then when you do that, you might be better prepared, but you also might predict wrongly, and then you can look at, during the laning phase, okay, this isn't working, why isn't this working? Whereas if you don't plan it out, you're just gonna like, it's not gonna work, and you're not gonna have like any reason to think about why it didn't work, and then you're just gonna keep getting screwed over and over by the same things because you're not consciously thinking about it. Does that make sense? Yeah, so quick buy is one of the things that I teach like all of my students, and the ones that can actually like stick with it and pay attention to think it's like the best thing ever. But a lot of people have a hard time remembering it.
It's just so annoying because I gotta press Control Shift, you know.
Yeah, but for you spend like 50 seconds running out here. You don't have anything else to be doing.
No, that's true. That's true.
And then when you die and you're just sitting there, you can like re-up the shit that you're gonna be getting.
Yeah, it's like how do you say? Yeah, it's like thread switching basically. You should do it.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
lot.
must.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're just missing out if you're not doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Those little things cost you MMR in the long run.
Yeah. Um, and the thing with this is tread switching. For your first 10 games, you'll probably start losing more if you try to do it very actively. Because, like, you'll do some stupid shit like end on in treads in the beginning of a fight and then stay on them, and then you're missing 200 health, and that 200 health would have made you kill them instead of them kill you. So tread switching
Yeah.
for your first 10 games usually has a negative impact, and then after you get it,
I'm okay with the thread switching actually, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't do it like I do it only when I really try hard, and but I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
It's not
But the example is it usually is at a cost when you start something new. Like when you're like, oh, I have horrible map awareness. When you start focusing more on the map, you're going to be focusing less on your creeps, you're going to miss last hits and stuff like that until it's second nature, and then you're going to start winning from it. So those things like usually give you like, for the first 10 games, it's like you have a 40% win rate, and then the last 2 games of the 10, you have like back to your 50, and then after that, you have like a 51 or 2% win rate. And the same is with map awareness and tread switching and all that. But with quick buy, it's just kind of like it doesn't take you anything to think about it. It's just like an instant advantage because you're more aware of what the lane's going to look like and more aware of what you can do about it. And then also you're going to be learning quicker because you're going to be predicting and guessing and sometimes being wrong, whereas if you don't predict and you don't guess, you're never going to be wrong, and then you're never going to learn because you don't feel like you made a mistake. So it's just kind of like, it'll make you go from 50 to 52%, and then you're also going to be growing from the very first game that you start doing it.
I mean, yeah. To be honest, I just want to know what I'm doing wrong because I think laning wise, I'm pretty decent. Like, even if I have a hard lane, I can catch up on farm, or I can like creep aggro to get my own farm. You know, even
Yeah.
against a strong laner. I think I'm okay with in that regards, but I struggle with carrying. Yeah, with you know, with the right item build. I think.
I got you. And it's hard for me to look at your laning phase because this is like an extremely hard lane. So it's kind of like there isn't much that you can do, and the more equal a lane is, the more that you have like opportunities. So I haven't had too much to comment on your laning like mechanics themselves.
But that's why you can go ahead and.
Well, I've found a lot of things. Like we've spent 40 minutes talking about a lot of good stuff.
No, sure, yeah. Of course.
But it's I want to look at the early game first because oftentimes in a replay there's like a critical mistake and then the rest of the game is just lost because of it. And if I skip over that, it's kind of like the game isn't how it should be, and then we're going from a compromised position and trying to learn how to come back from a compromised position. So yeah, now it's kind of like you're just lasting in lane, which is fine. It's good.
But I was thinking because I'm pretty sure I lost this game for the. I mean, okay, we didn't have great. I mean, very squishy supports, you know, and offlaner, you know.
Yeah.
But still, with the farm I got, I think we should have won this game because we were ahead at one point actually. And then what was it? Yeah, like the people got blown up. Yeah, like here you see he got hooked, got blown up, and I got hooked, got blown up. Okay, and then I'm pinging them. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I got you.
Because I felt like the Bane never used his ulti at all. You know, I was like, yeah, it's your job to fucking die instead of me. You know.
Yeah, that just kind of sucks. There's not too much to teach off of that one.
I should be able to rely on them, you know. That's why I love Spectre, because basically you can, yeah, like, you can survive. You can survive most of the fights. You have the items.
Well, the thing is, you have to get the items, and that's like not in your control. If the enemy team decides to push early, then the game's completely out of your hands.
And I felt like the Meepo tilted at one point as well, because he got caught off.
It's probably because the Spectre was
he
flaming
played
him.
Decent, I think he played decent. I felt like the quarter. And do you think it was a horrible item choice to go that Vanguard Abyss right away?
I don't really.
It's fine.
It's mostly like it's going back to the critical mistake. Like the mistake was the radiance, and then you're building on the mistake. Whereas the proper build was the battle fury, so it's kind of like it's hard to say. But this is a very important thing. Your Meepo's dead. Roche is down. They're probably gonna push you. Like they're probably gonna group and push mid here, if they're smart. And you're spending 3 or 4 seconds jungling this when you should definitely be jungling killing this. And then your creep wave will be at their tower like 10 seconds sooner. And then one of them has to respond to you, and then they can't push anymore if you TP back, because instead of it being a 5v4, now it's a 4v4, and you guys have an actual way to win the fight. So this is very important. This mistake right here. You should definitely be pushing the bottom like right away. It's much more important than getting. And then you even pull this on accident, which makes it.
Accident.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, fine, he's gonna just double wave, so. But yeah.
Alright, so they don't end up punishing you. Which is kind of like you're just lucky with that. But that was very important.
But because I figured, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
That was very important where you should have went directly to this, because they very well could have pushed you, and it would have taken you like an extra 5 to 10 seconds to push this because you did this. Like the creeps getting to a spot where they have to react is going to take an extra 5 to 10 seconds. And like let's say they take a fight under your tower here, and you still haven't killed the second wave because you killed this one instead and you only got the first wave. So the creeps are going to be like here for an extra 30 seconds before they run at the tower. And it's just kind of like the amount of gold that you got from this isn't even worth the time, because creeps in the lane are worth so much more, and you're doing a lot by making them have to react to this also. So it's kind of like killing this creep, or this creep wave, for 5 seconds to 10 seconds, or whatever it was, let's say 5 seconds. Those 5 seconds, if you spent 5 seconds doing this instead, it would have been like it would have been like 10 times the value in those 5 seconds, just by running straight here instead. And that's like it's not too big of a deal in this exact situation, but if you can consistently make the right decisions on when to go to lane instead of when to go to jungle, and when to split push and when not to, that's when games get super fucking hard for the enemy team to yeah, it's like when you play against an AM that's really good versus one that's shit. It's so hard to end the game because he's always pushing out the lanes that you're not at, and you get one tower maybe, and he's attacking your tower, and then you can't keep pushing even though they have 2 people dead or whatever.
Actually, that's an interesting point, because that's exactly what I'm looking for, is how to win games by split pushing. And I never, because I'm so used to being a jungle, because I'm trying to stay off the map, because I know they're always hunting to kill me, you know?
Yeah, it's
that's a bad habit, you know?
Yeah, it's just kind of like if you push this and then part of it is map awareness. If they're showing like 5 attacking the tower, and then like you look a second later and there's only 2 of them, and you're like right here, they're probably TPing to the shrine, because it's kind of like they're leaving the vision to do something that they feel is more important than what they're doing. And what else would that be aside from killing you when Roshan's dead?
Okay, but one quick question. Let's say the map is completely dark, yeah?
Yeah.
So you have the only thing you can do basically is guesswork, like where the enemy is, you know? Would you... In that case, you never show up in lane, right?
It's a lot more... It's very complicated. But I guess the best way that I can try and explain it is it depends on where you have seen people last, how long ago it was, who they were, and who on the team has kill potential on you. So like this game, a Pudge can't really solo kill you. None of them can really solo kill you. Invoker might be able to, if he's, like, ahead enough. But, like, Pudge...
Actually, I wasn't... But they always... Yeah, they're not roaming alone anyway.
Yeah. It's mostly what combinations kill you. And then when you see both... When you see a combination that can kill you, that's off the map for long enough that they can be in the area that you want to go to, you don't want to show up. But let's say they all 5 showed up here like 3 seconds ago, and you're right here, you can easily push this out and then the next wave and then get out, even if you don't have this ward here. Because by the time that they TP here, it's going to take 5 seconds for the second guy to TP, and all the time to walk here, and it only takes you a few seconds to clear the creep wave. And then it's another thing to consider is, let's say you have both of these lanes are pushed to your tower, and they showed here recently, and let's say it takes 3 of their heroes to kill you. It's kind of fine to push in a risky spot, because if they have to go back to try and kill you, then they're not pushing your base. So it's a lot of different combinations of a lot of things, but that's kind of like the best that I can explain it simply. Does that help? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it's delicate.
Yeah.
It's not that simple, you know.
Yeah.
Basically, it's map awareness.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of what split pushing is consistent map awareness and tracking where the enemies may or may not be. Like right now, the enemy team has been off the map for a good 10 seconds or so. So they're probably like still on their side, but if it's like 30 seconds, then they might be like in your area looking for you, if they're not showing on any of the lanes or anything. So it's but now you see 3 of them bottom, so you're not very scared of this Juggernaut by himself, because you have a cheese. The only other person that might be there is a Pudge, and I think the Earthshaker's the only other one. Yeah.
Oh, but even the Meepo was laughing because he was like, man, if we lose to a Radiance Juggernaut, that delete Dota, you know? And I was like...
Nice. He went Radiance. Feels bad.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, but I don't know. I think it was the item build that lost me the game.
Partially, yeah. There were a lot of mistakes that you made.
You said, yeah, like when I didn't push the lane when I had to. So that's maybe 1,000 or 2,000 gold that I could have had extra.
Well, it would have been like more like 200 more gold, if that. But it's more of they can't end the game because they have to deal with this, or you make it from a position of they're gonna get tower damage for free to they're gonna get tower damage and I'm gonna get tower damage, or they're gonna get a lot less tower damage and I'm not gonna get any tower damage. Whereas if you just jungle here, they're gonna get a lot of tower damage, and you're not gonna get any regardless of what they do. Um, so I think the build, if you went this build but you played perfectly, you would have won the game possibly. It's just all of the small mistakes and the build combined.
Like you, if you play this game, 100% you win or like okay, 80%.
If Arteezy played this game with this build, I'm sure he'd have like a 90-95% chance to win.
Oh really? Yeah. Oh yeah, that bad. I mean that good.
Yeah. It's just there's a lot of like mistakes that the enemy's making that you're not punishing too, that I'm not really even looking for because I'm just kind of like watching you, and if any mistakes that they make pop up, then that's good to talk about, but I don't want to spend a whole lesson looking at all 5 of the enemies.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, I mean it's
Another little thing that I've seen a lot is you and the Meepo farming in the same spot, which it could be his fault, it could be yours, but it's something that you really want to avoid. Even if it's like his fault, if you can, just like go jungle somewhere else. And oh, okay, you have a defusal. I was about to say, I didn't see the defusal, and I was gonna say, if you just have Radiance, Abyssal, and Heart, you're just kind of like a Radiance and a stun.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I was like, because actually my first thought was like, okay, I'm gonna go hard to tank everything, but I was like, I don't do any damage, so what's the fucking point, you know?
Yeah.
So just go defusal, get some extra damage, and yeah. And then you see the fight there is like we got blown up, you know.
Lol. So yeah, this game looks like it's pretty much over. We have a little bit of time left, so if you have any final questions, or I can look at some of the builds in your games and comment on those.
Do you have some extra time or what?
Yeah, we have like 5 or 10 minutes left.
No, but I mean like, do you have something to do after?
Yeah, I have some stuff that I need to do.
Okay, oh, sure. No worries. Okay.
How was Battle Fury this game? You tried it out. It was your second to last Spectre game?
What happened? Oh yeah, I was against this Tusk and Taker. I think Tusk and it was horrible. It was horrible game.
Yeah, this is a mistake you keep.
I had a random lichen, yeah.
This is a mistake you keep doing though. The getting an extra branch, it doesn't do anything, and starting with your Quelling Blade instead of getting a Stout Shield.
Okay.
Means that you have to use the Courier when you shouldn't have to. The only thing that you really want to use the Courier for is a Mango. And sometimes if the lane doesn't look like it's going to be that hard, you can skip the Salve and go for the Mango. And get a Stout Shield, and then you can get your Wand and your Quelling Blade from the side shop. And then you're completely unreliant on the Courier for a long time, which is a really good thing to do.
Yeah, no, I know I shouldn't be doing that, you know, even when I play with my friend who's a good meter, you know, he's always like, never use the Courier, you know, if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, but no, yeah, the Battle Fury game was horrible, man. Like, I just went Battle Fury just for, well, yeah, to catch up on farm, because the lane went horrible.
Yeah, and those were low priority games, I think.
What was it, the Spectre? No, I don't think so. No, this was.
No, the Husk or the Terrorblade and the Morphling.
Yeah, those were low priority games.
Yeah.
The Huskar was low priority as well. But actually, that one was fun because I went Orchid on it. I had a puck off lane. Break the puck every time. What are you doing? What's your first name?
Josh, but I go by Tact or Tacticals.
Okay. Oh, you like to attack better, yeah?
Yeah, it's clean.
Alright, tact.
So do you have any final questions? I'm just kind of looking through your games and trying to find some that I can like talk about build-wise.
Yeah, because I really like it these days. Um, but I feel like I lose a lot of games for some reason. I don't know why, because I think I'm fighting too much and not farming enough. I do the same build, like, yeah, this Helm of Dominator Necro book, you know. And but he's not that good at fighting against like Sven or CK or big heroes like that, you know.
I think it's a huge mistake that you had brown boots at 45 minutes. You should have went Reds. Yeah.
I don't remember what was the.
You were probably waiting to get bots, but it's kind of like if you just got treads at like early in the game and then sold them at the 45 minutes, it would have paid for itself.
Actually, that game I won by red. Actually.
Yeah, you guys have a pretty good. This guy can push out lanes and you can kill towers, and they don't have much lockdown for you. I think going BKB, unless this guy is Yule's ulting you, which he probably was.
Well, yeah, I felt the BKB was right because if every time I didn't have the BKB and they touch with the bean, it would kill me.
I think the main thing the Desolator is, unless you're, I guess you picked it up when you're ending the game. I mean, there's not too much to say. Without going into it, the build looks fine, except for I would have liked to have seen you get treads. The wand is meh, because you have so much regen anyways, and you don't really need, like, it's decent for the mana because this guy can drain a shit ton of your mana between his talent tree and a diffusal blade, but you don't really care too much about that. I guess I could look at the pick orders of your stuff because I'm not seeing too much build-wise. You were last pick on your team. The Lycan's fine because they're missing a lot of disables. Yeah.
Do you reckon I can hit 5k playing like this or not? Like with a little bit of improvement?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing stopping anyone from hitting 5k. Like, there's no difference, like, I'm not genetically better than you or anything, and, like, Arteezy isn't genetically better than me, and he's not genetically better than you. There's nothing fundamentally different between any three of us, so you can definitely hit 3k. It's just, the things that we talked about are kind of holding you back.
Okay.
It's a lot of... people like to get big things from lessons, but it's kind of like a lot of small shit is what's going to hold you back. And then, like, sometimes a big fundamental thing will pop out in a lesson, like the going for the large camp instead of going for the lane. It's not so much that was a big deal, it's more of the thought process that you're probably going through when you make a mistake like that is the big deal, not so much that mistake itself was a big deal. Does that make sense?
No, I understand totally, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, do you have any final questions?
No, we're all good. I'm just gonna, like, think about all what you said and trying to implement these little small details into my game plan,
Yeah. And I'm going to have the video on YouTube in probably like less than an hour or whatever, and then